What's more important to you, an OLED display, more versatile multitasking capabilities, better battery life, and IP68 rating, or a more powerful chip, a better optimized app ecosystem, and some platform-specific creative apps? These are some of the choices that you'll have to make when choosing between the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 and the M2 11-inch iPad Air 6. But let's talk about everything you should know. So both tablets have fully laminated displays, which is great, but beyond that, the types of displays, the aspect ratios, and the specs are quite different, so let's see which one is a better option for you. Now, the iPad Air has an 11-inch liquid retina display with a resolution of 2360 by 1640, 60 Hz refresh rate, and a pixel density of 264 pixels per inch. The Tab S9 has an 11-inch dynamic AMOLED 2X display with a resolution of 2560 by 1600, 120 Hz adaptive refresh rate, and a pixel density of 274. So we're essentially getting the same width display, but the Tab S9 has an aspect ratio of 16 by 10 versus approximately 3 by 2 on the iPad Air 6. And here's the thing, when you're watching a video, you'll get smaller black bars on the top and the bottom of the Tab S9 because it's closer to the aspect ratio of the content, but the overall image size is pretty much the same. If you zoom to fill the screen on both devices, then there is a smaller crop on the Tab S9. On the other hand, the iPad Air 6 will give you a wider tablet in portrait mode, which is nice when you're drawing or taking notes using the Apple Pencil. Now, as far as the refresh rate, the Tab S9 has an adaptive 120 Hz display, meaning that it can adjust the refresh rate on the fly to balance providing a fluid and responsive user experience and maximizing battery life. The iPad Air 6 has a 60 Hz display, so the user interface animations and scrolling are not going to look as smooth. Now, refresh rate can also sometimes impact gaming, where games let you go up to 120 FPS on the Tab S9 versus being limited to 60 on the iPad. And you'll see that in the gaming section, you actually have to make a pretty important decision. Now, the OLED screen on the Tab S9 also means that we have per pixel controls. So we're getting incredible image quality and color, very dark blacks, and excellent contrast ratio. Now, both displays are actually still quite reflective, with the iPad Air being slightly less so. Ultimately, we're getting very good image quality with both of these tablets, but this is a pretty clear win for the Galaxy Tab S9. Now, there's not much difference in terms of portability since both tablets are fairly similar in size, but true to its name, the iPad Air is a bit lighter. Now, both companies offer larger versions if you need similar specs with a larger display, and Samsung does have the Tab S9 Ultra if you're looking for the biggest option. From a design standpoint, both tablets have flat edges and rounded corners. The Tab S9 is a bit thinner and has slightly smaller bezels. Now, in terms of durability, both have been pretty solid. I haven't had any issues with bending, but I always mention that I also don't try to bend my tablets, and most of the time I keep them in a case. Now, I like the fact that both the Tab S9 and the S Pen have an IP68 rating, so I know that I get protection from water and dust, especially with this one running around. Now, the iPad Air has 2 speakers, one on each side, and on the other hand, the Tab S9 has 4 speakers, so you're getting one in each corner. The Tab S9 is louder and sounds brighter in the mids and the highs, and the iPad Air has a little more bass. So here's a quick sample. Now, both tablets have USB-C ports for charging and connecting accessories, but I love that the Tab S9 has a micro SD card slot, so I can relatively inexpensively expand the internal storage by up to 1 terabyte, and this can save me money when I compare it to upgrading the internal storage. Also gives me more storage overall, and I can use the micro SD card storage for files, photos, videos, and for most apps. Now, the iPad Air uses Touch ID for biometric authentication, and the fingerprint sensor is integrated into the power button. The Tab S9 offers a great under-display fingerprint sensor and a face recognition option. Now, all 3 have worked very well for me. I prefer the placement of the under display fingerprint sensor on the Tab S9 because it's more organic to how I pick up and hold the tablet. And what I end up doing with the iPad Air is I program a finger from each hand, and that way, whether I'm holding it in portrait or landscape mode, I can easily authenticate. Now, something else that's always important is battery life. Now, in my experience, the Tab S9 is lasting me longer. And of course, looking at exactly how much you actually get from your tablet will depend on what you do. Now, I'm finishing up a battery drain test of a lot of the current tablets, so go ahead and subscribe if you want to be notified when it's released. Now, when it comes to charging, the Tab S9 doesn't come with a charger, and with the iPad Air, we're getting a one-port 20-watt charger. At the same time, the Tab S9 can accept up to 45 watts fast charging if you have a high-capacity charger available, so you need to make a choice there. Now, another important consideration is being able to expand the functionality of each tablet by adding a keyboard case and a stylus. The Tab S9 is compatible with two different versions of the book cover keyboard from Samsung. Now, the iPad Air is compatible with Apple's Magic Keyboard and some excellent third-party options. And of course, you can always use an external keyboard with both of the tablets. Now, personally, I like the feel of the keys on the Magic Keyboard better. They have better bounce back, they're more comfortable to type on, and I find myself making less typos. Now, the trackpad on the Magic Keyboard is more responsive and more accurate, and you can click anywhere on it. And the Magic Keyboard also has a USB-C pass-through, so you can charge the iPad while still being able to connect accessories. Now, the Tab S9 keyboards offer two designs to choose from. They have a row of function keys, and they do a better job at securing the S Pen so it doesn't fall off when it's in my bag, which brings me to the stylus options. Now, the Tab S9 comes with a free S Pen. It pairs wirelessly. It can be stored on the side or on the back of the S Pen, but it will only charge on the back. The iPad Air is compatible with the USB-C version of the Apple Pencil, which costs $79, or the new Apple Pencil Pro, which pairs wirelessly, can be stored and charged on the side of the iPad, and it costs $130. Now, the Apple Pencil Pro also offers features like barrel roll, which is useful with rotating shaped pen and brush tools. It's got a squeeze function, which can be used to open a palette for switching tools, line weights, and colors, and it has haptic feedback. Now, the majority of these features are going to mostly be important for artists or creators, at least at this point, but the one added feature that I love about the new Apple Pencil Pro is that it has Find My. So this way, if I leave it around the house, I can easily find it. Now, the S Pen doesn't need to be charged in order to write or draw. It's just for the Bluetooth functions, whereas the Apple Pencil does need to be charged in order to work at all. Now, practically speaking, this isn't really a meaningful difference to me because the Apple Pencil is always charging when it's on my iPad, but it's still something that I wanted to mention. Now, you're able to assign functions to the button on the S Pen, which is similar to the Apple Pencil's double tap function, but the S Pen also has several Bluetooth functions, so you can use it to take pictures, control media playback, and for several other useful tasks. Now, in both cases, latency is extremely low, but the actual writing or drawing experience is very different. And both Apple Pencils have a firm tip, so the tip is a little bit harsher, and when it hits the glass, it feels like you're writing on a single sheet of paper that's placed on a hard surface. The S Pen has a softer tip, so when it hits the glass, it gives a little, and it feels more like you're writing on a full pad of paper where the pages compress as you press down. The one isn't objectively better than the other for every use, and it's going to come down to which one feels better for you, so hopefully my description was helpful. Now, when we look at multitasking, the iPad Air can have two apps open side by side in split view. You can have slide over windows, and you can open some apps in a center window. Now, the Tab S9 allows you to have three tiled apps open at the same time. You can resize each app to get the configuration that works best for you, and you can have additional apps in pop-up windows. Now, you can use both tablets as second displays for your laptop or desktop. Apple calls this feature Sidecar, and Samsung calls it Second Screen. Regardless of which tablet you get, you should definitely use this feature. Now, something that I really like about the Tab S9 is that you can boot it in DeX mode, which gives you a desktop-like user interface with a taskbar, desktop icons, and floating windows. You can even pair a keyboard, mouse, and an external monitor for an extremely powerful dual display setup. Apple does have Stage Manager for the iPad, which means that you can connect an external display without black bars to the left and the right. You can also extend your desktop to that external display and move apps and windows to it for a true dual display setup. Now, it's great that Apple continues to expand the capabilities of the iPad. I love how fluid and seamless multitasking is, and at the same time, the Tab S9 is more versatile with 3 tiled apps, and it has DeX, so it's still the more capable multitasking option. Now, Samsung also already has AI features available with the Tab S9, and with the iPad, we're waiting for iPadOS 18, which looks like it has some fantastic features, so I'll compare those when they're actually available. Now, looking at the camera systems, both tablets have 12 megapixel front-facing cameras. The iPad Air can record at up to 1080p 60, and the Tab S9 can go to 4K 30, and here's a quick sample. Here's a camera and microphone comparison of the Tab S9 and the iPad Air 6 11 inches. This should give you a pretty good idea of the type of image quality that you're going to get and the type of audio that you should expect from each tablet. Now, moving on to the rear-facing camera modules, the Tab S9 has a 13 megapixel camera versus 12 megapixel on the iPad Air. Now, personally, I almost never use the camera on my tablets other than to maybe scan documents because I always have a better one on my phone. So this isn't really a deciding factor for me. Now, as far as configuration options, the iPad Air comes with the M2 chip, and all 4 storage options between 128 gigabytes and 1 terabyte come with 8 gigs of RAM. The Tab S9 comes with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chip, and the 128 gigabyte model comes with 8 gigabytes of RAM, and the 256 comes with 12. Now, let's quickly look at benchmarks for those of you who are interested, where we see that the iPad Air comes out ahead for single core performance, and the advantage continues as we look at multi-core performance and definitely at GPU performance. Now, for most things, this additional processing power is not super meaningful. Both tablets feel snappy and responsive. If you're working with more demanding apps, or if you're doing things like photo or video editing, then it's a clear win for the iPad Air. And of course, I also expect the iPad Air to perform better for longer. Now, we talked a little bit about how the display impacts gaming, but how about processing power? So right now, both tablets run games like PUBG, COD Mobile, and Genshin Impact without a problem. But here you have to make a decision. Looking at gaming performance, I'm definitely going to give the edge to the iPad Air because it has a more powerful chip. It won't really matter for less demanding games, but playing more demanding games can sometimes feel smoother on the iPad Air, even at a lower refresh rate. And both tablets are about the same size, so they're essentially identical in terms of how comfortable they are to handhold for gaming. And the choice comes down to what's more important to you: better processing power or a faster refresh rate. Now, when I want to play cloud-based games, I pair my Xbox controller with both tablets, and then I can play any game that's available with the Xbox Game Pass app. If the game fills the screen, then the iPad Air has a slightly larger display, but the image quality is better on the Tab S9. Now, if we look at apps and long-term support, there's lots of apps in the Galaxy Store, the Google Play Store, and the Apple Store. So the vast majority of users are easily going to find what they need. Some creative specific apps like Affinity Photo and Procreate are only available for the iPad, so if you absolutely need those 2 apps for your workflow, go ahead and get the iPad. Now, obviously, Final Cut Pro is only available on the iPad, but LumaFusion, which has historically been an iPad-only app, is available for Android, which is great. And Notability is only available for the iPad, but GoodNotes has an Android version, and Samsung Notes is actually an outstanding option, and it comes included with the Tab S9. Now, overall, I definitely give the edge to the iPad because almost every single iPad app, not all of them, but almost all of them, are optimized for a tablet, whereas with the Tab S9, a lot of the apps are stretched out versions of the phone apps, which don't look as great on a larger screen. Now, as far as operating system support, Apple has always provided excellent long-term support. And while Samsung offers 4 years of OS updates and 5 years of security updates, Apple still has the edge here if that's a priority for you. I also want you to consider the ecosystem that you're in, because there are definitely advantages when you stay within your current ecosystem. So things like wireless file sharing, link sharing, and other continuity features work better with multiple devices within the same ecosystem. And while Samsung continues to improve here, I'm going to give the slight edge to the iPad because Apple has full control over the software and the hardware of all of their devices, but let's talk about pricing. So I'm going to use the prices off of the Apple and Samsung stores because it's more standardized that way, but you can usually find better prices by using the links in the description. Now, the base model of the Tab S9 comes with 128 gigabytes of storage and sells for $699. The base model of the iPad Air also comes with 128 gigabytes and it sells for $799. Now, both tablets also have a 256 gigabyte option, but the iPad Air goes all the way up to 1 terabyte. So if you need more of the absolute fastest internal storage, that's the option for you. And remember that the Tab S9 has a micro SD card slot if you need to expand the internal storage, and the price includes the S Pen. Now, at least in the US, only the iPad Air is available in a 5G model. So that simplifies as a choice for you if you need that type of additional connectivity. Now you should check out this video. Hopefully this comparison was helpful. Click on my face to subscribe. You know what I always say, buy it nice or buy it twice.